Hello, this is the Aubrey Knight. I'm Mary. I give a conservative perspective about the world around me. So feedback is immensely important. Feel free to reach out to me, and the sources for you to do so will be provided in this episode. Alright, so some of the audio platforms that I'm on a speaker, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Deezer, just to name a few. So this episode is all about the background, the history of sandals. That's the footwear, not the beach resort. And then also my thoughts on that. Here we go. Alright, so thoughts here. Dive into them, before I get into the aspects of the facts. So, I'm just reading and finding out things about the aspects of sandals goes along with the territory and unveiling what was implemented and what was valuable to each society when the sandal was in use. And like I say on Friday's episodes when I talk about fashion, and then the next topic is language for the fall, when I get merged into the fall this year, and then winter be different topics, but so forth. So anyway, my whole point in being of talking about all this, they all unify a significant impact on culture. Whether you want it that way or you want to pay attention to it, it is prevalent. And so I think when you go into the aspects of why particular fashions are still in surface or regulated or still in use, what does that mean? That means that the functionality is something that is just like I equate it to the aspects of, now this is from my point of view of what I understand about science and testing and so forth. So essentially this. Now I know I'm bumping and going through different concepts, but I think that all of these different ideas help to get to the main root of everything instead of just saying some dry generic thing, So, okay, look at it like this, all right? So, when you're doing an experiment or you want to use a test, if something is true or not true, there's a reason why it's a theory, a method, or a theory method within it, and then something that's proven to be actually true and a scientific proof, that evidence of why it's true. The reason why it's true and tested that way and keep replicating and seeing if it keeps turning out the same way. And if it does, it's true. So I think that the reason why the aspects of sandals in our culture is still prevalent is because of how the main source for it to be easy for someone to get through the elements in which they're living in, and then it evolves into something. Oh, this is unique. Let's make something fashionable out of it when we get over the idea, or not, get through the idea that we're just wearing these we're just wearing these this outerwear just for survival. Now we can come down. We're in a culture or a society where we're not just in survival mode. Where we can have ideas about something, be more cultured, be more centered around the aspects of leisure. And so that's, again, another aspect of how it evolved into what is known as leisure wear, too, and luxury wear, too. So, yeah, I just think it's fairly neat how what you choose to wear is a walking billboard for the aspects of what people value in our culture. And what does that say? Does that say something good? Say something bad? Who knows? It all depends on the people in the society and what they say. And so I think that's why, again, and I'll wrap up my thoughts here again, why it's important to always encourage and to always have the precedent that it's far better to be in a society where no matter if we disagree or not about something, people have a say in what they think, what they feel, what they don't think, what they don't like, what they do like, because that in itself is the aspects of cultures evolving. So also regulate this, or riddle me this, or think about this, Batman. Okay, so let's say, what if people just never got it out of the mentality that sandals is just for something that it has to do with surviving through something, or have that whole aspects, that the whole idea of what you wear or how you go about your life is just completely for survival purposes. So that puts people in a very sentimental mentality that whatever actions that I take, I have to gut through it, which is a good thing. But if that's all you ever feel or think about your disposition in life, then you're not really able to have that balance of slowing down and appreciating and reflecting and just not being so on edge all the time for the most part, because that is the reality of the situation. If you're constantly in a survival mentality, you're always thinking about, I have to do this, I have to protect myself from this, oh, I'll protect myself from that today, oh, this is right today, I don't have to worry about escaping this or moving away from this terrain. That'll drive you mad. So it's just our balance with everything, which is really important to have in our culture. And I think there's something to be inspired for in the aspects of how we see the even bigger cornerstones, capstones in culture, where it be politics, where it be entertainment, where it be education, and so forth. So again, as I said, I can't stress it enough. I really appreciate all the listeners out there, and they're just growing every day, and I'm just immensely elated by that. But, feel free to let me know what you all think about the episodes, and then feel free to let me know your comments about certain things that you have, or maybe show ideas. And I just like to know, because it's quite interesting how, now I said this before, nothing is created out of a vacuum. And so, these are my ideas, and this is how I think. And then I always strive to learn and see other different points of views, and then get into also what I appreciate about the aspects of me going to college, going to getting a 4-year degree and so forth, is what I flock to is the aspects of research and digging down, figuring out, getting down to the truth, to what is the factual truth, and if it's not, then why the reasons why it's not, and the reasons why something that's presented as fact, why it turns out later that it's not so accurate, what happened with that. So, and then that comes from, seeing other perspectives. So feel free to comment and give your thoughts. And I really do appreciate the people who have in the past made comments recently, made comments in the past on YouTube. Continue that out. All right, here we go. I'm going to get into the facts about the aspects of sandals. Okay, and of course, sources will be provided. Okay, so sandals, history. All right, so sandals are one of the oldest forms of footwear with a history spanning thousands of years and found in nearly every culture worldwide. And I found it quite interesting with the aspects of how everything evolved, like I was mentioning about. First is for survival, then slowly turning to something that can be for luxury, and then before then, sandals as a status of social tiers. And again, it's quite fascinating, quite interesting, the aspects of how attire expresses what the symbolism of what is good, what is not so good, what all these things mean to people and culture. All right, so with a history spanning thousands of years and found in nearly every culture worldwide, their simple structure consisting of a sole secured to the foot with straps evolved from primitive wraps and has proven to be both practical and enduring. The earliest surviving examples date back to around, and get this is in the U.S. here, 8,500 to 7,200 BC, discovered in Fort Rock Cave, Oregon, of the U.S. of A., where sandals were woven from sagebrush bark and other fibers. These ancient footwear items were primarily used for protection against harsh terrains, with the exposed foot being most practical in hot climates. So evidence of sandals existed in numerous ancient civilizations. So in ancient Mesopotamia, around 3000 BCE, leather sandals featured in intricate designs. This is what I'm talking about with the social status here, and were used in ceremonies. The ancient Egyptians, as early as 3500 BC, crafted sandals from palm leaves, papyrus, and rawhide. So the elite individual adorning theirs with jewelry for both protection and beauty. And this goes into the aspects of how emulating popular cultures comes back in faction into the appreciation of why, and you can understand why people keep reverting back, and why at one point in the cups of history these civilizations were so important. So for the aspects of gladiator sandals, now these particular sandals were quite popular, when I was late teens, well, early, teenage to 20s. They were all the rage. And so you could see celebrities wearing them, and then beyond celebrities, entertainers wearing them, and saying, oh, yeah. But when the aspects of that goes to say about how impactful the Roman and Egyptian, but particular Roman and Greek culture was very powerful in the aspects of the way it influenced people's ideas about modernity. All right, so in ancient Greece, leather sandals known as sapeta were worn by both men and women and depicted in mythological art. So the Romans utilized various styles, including durable, excuse me for the pronunciation here, calig worn by soldiers, and the decorative solide worn indoors. Throughout history, sandals have reflected cultural and social values. In India, the wooden payugas, I believe the pronunciation. Forgive me for that. Yeah, I have Indian listeners. Feel free to either email me or find me on social media and give me your insight about the pronunciation of this. Became symbols of spirituality and the aspects of that. So in Japan, Lori and Yita sandals made from rice straw or wood have remained timeless. So in Africa, sandals made from leather, reeds, and palm leaves are still crafted and often decorated with beads. Okay, so during the Middle Ages in Europe, sandals became less common, worn mostly indoors by monks, as closed shoes gained popularity. So by the Byzantine era and the empire of the Byzantine, aspects of ornate jeweled sandals were becoming more and more popular and were worn on the streets, blending Roman and Eastern influences. So as the 20th century came about, they saw a significant shift in the perception of sandals. They began their life as appearing as a beachwear in Western fashion in the early 1900s. So by the mid-20th century, it witnessed the rise of casual fashion with brands like Birkenstock gaining popularity. So I find it quite interesting when they say about the 1960s and the Jesus sandals, and this goes along with the aspects of the hippie movement. Now, see, you got to look at it for what it is. So some people have theories about the hippies in general, that they in itself were the aspects of governmental influence of dethroning culture and making people deviant. Like that deviancy is the way to be truly evolved or free or from the chains of your type of government or your aspects of traditional values in your culture. And so when you get in the aspects of Jesus sandals and how that's tied to the image of being a hippie, what does that all say? That's quite controversial when you think about the message of Jesus and his followers and the tradition in the tradition of the New Testament faith of Christianity. And that strips down the fabric of the aspects of faith. So in itself is saying that it can be insulting in the aspects of saying, okay, the hippie movement or hippies in themselves are wanting to have fashion wear, whereas sandals, to emulate the aspects of the embodiment of Christ. So from their point of view, the embodiment of Christ is all about peace and love and understanding. But that is only seeing one surface and one element of Jesus and his disciples, and particularly with Jesus and his teaching. And so that's why it's quite very important to, if you're interested in something, to see both sides of everything, and then see when the fabric of something is ripped away, pun intended, and it disintegrates. Why is it disintegrating? And then is it really beneficial? So I think that's what is the major flaw with the aspects of, having this peace-free, will come as you will, everything is everything sort of mentality in the aspects of this. Because, yes, of course, Jesus and Christianity, but Jesus' teachings or Jesus' philosophy is about peace and understanding and love and all of that. But at the same time, there's a very definitive moral structure in what he is saying and what he means. So he's saying, so this is just what I get out of Christianity, and which is very, holistic in everything in the aspects of faith. So it's, yes, you should be peaceful and understanding of others, but at the same time, you take those actions and you be like that yourself. You do what you can to be that same way. And then when it's something is not this corrupt or devised, you take your time to really be the source of reason. Now, that's a difference between a source of reason and the difference in saying that you are the cuffs of the moral compass, and then you are the way, and then that whole attitude of the aspects that really means something. That's why it's still prevalent today. Those who live in glass houses don't throw stones, because we in itself, we are just human, and we do not have the divine aspects of understanding beyond our own aspects of a higher being other than us. And so in the teaching of Christ in itself, it's not only about being loving and kind and everything else. It's also about scrapping your ego and being humble too at the same time. And then when you get into that aspects of understanding that, truly understanding that, and understanding, check your ego at the door, then we start to get in the aspects of where are we going as a culture? Like, what are they actually saying to us in these movements? Now, I'm getting a bit on a soapbox here, but not actuality, because I'm just simply, saying the aspects of saying it for what it is, and telling it like it is, because that's why it's very important, I think, to really pay attention to what is the messages behind things. Like what are they actually saying to us? What are they actually meaning to us? What is actually meaningful? What is the meaning behind it? And so that's something to really look at in the aspects of saying Jesus sandals and marketing that as like a hippie aspects of everything, because there are some traces of stuff that is, commendable about the aspects of, that's commendable, wanting to have peace and love with the aspects of the hippie movement, as it said, as it was portrayed, but the aspects of the other things of it, of wanting to be carefree all the time, not wanting to have a structure of truly trying to be level-headed in order to make things progress to change and so forth. And the also can't ignore the aspects of the massive drug movement that was going along in the ties of the hippie movement too, and then people being subversive to these sort of mentality, to where you perpetually, you're never getting out of that state, you're never evolving, you're never growing into a better understanding of the world around you. And that's something to really look at too, at how that is controversial with the aspects of wanting that related, the aspects of Jesus related to these particular sandals. All right, so with all that said, I'm going to wrap everything up. So, all right, so the 1970s brought disco-inspired high-heel sandals made from materials like snakeskin, silver leather, which were later refined in the 1980s by designers seeking a more dignified, that is, aesthetic. So today's sandals range from everyday wear to luxury fashion, made from diverse materials with aerodynamic designs that merge comfort and style. They continue to symbolize both practical and elegance, connecting modern wears to a tradition that spans a millennia. All right, so this year just in. Tune in, turn up, and definitely take care. Bye-bye for now.